Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Kim. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Good. Well, of course, welcome to the Kim and Jerry podcast. And we're going to do something a little different. We've put together a lifestyle series, a combination of several different videos that we like to talk about on our podcast. And you have a very special one today that I think will probably be interesting to a lot of folks. I
Agreed.
say that after learning a few things that you have discovered, it's pretty sobering. And I think it's good that we're doing this so that we can bring about awareness to our viewers, and maybe our viewers can bring awareness to the people that they know as well. I think this is going to be very special. So I
I do
thank
too.
you. And of course, this is for information and educational purposes only, but, definitely want to at least make sure that people know what's going on, and they can do their own research if they want to.
Absolutely.
So go
Absolutely.
ahead and so we're going to call this one Can You Afford to Retire? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Kim. I have a lot of friends out there that I've talked to lately, and many of them are talking about, well, they can't afford to retire,
Yeah.
or they've retired and now they're looking for another job. Um, the other thing that has been kind of interesting to me is, I've walked into a number of, your big box retailers, and you see someone that looks older as a greeter.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
remember walking into one big box retailer, which will remain nameless because I'm not going to give them any advertising credits. um, there's a gentleman there, and he has, he's basically has a crutch because his leg was messed up.
Wow.
And you sit back and go, well, what's this about? As a result of that, some thoughts just popped into my head, and I started looking at retiree data, and what does the average over 65 household have for liquid income? What are Social Security checks running, and that kind of thing, just to kind of get an idea of why are all of these folks saying I need to go back to work? And if you want, I put a little slide together of some of the information I found, which might be very interesting to some of the folks that we're talking to.
Let me see if I can get that up here. Let me go ahead and share. Can you see that?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, great.
Yep, basically it's this is the intro. Can you afford to retire? And Kim, if you want to
Right.
show some of the numbers,
Yes. Okay.
something that was just astounding to me. I went out. Like I said, I wanted to find out, well, why is this phenomena happening? And one of the things that I found was the average Social Security retirement check is $1,500. I always
Wow.
thought it was going to be bigger, but $1,500. So I guess if you have a spouse between, the couple, it's about $3,000. And then also went back to Chat GPT and started looking at things like, well, what's household income? What does house insurance run? How much does it cost to operate a car, assuming that you've already paid for the car? So you're just paying for insurance and gas. What's the average budget for food? You know, and the wild part about this, like I said, I use Chat GPT, so it's just taking the United States as a whole. It's
Right.
not looking at expensive areas versus less expensive areas. It's just taking raw numbers,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm done. You take that $3,000, the two checks, and the average mortgage in the United States is $1,300. I didn't really have a clue. The other thing that I found in my research was that 66% of the homes in the United States have a mortgage.
Yeah.
So if you're retired, there's a possibility you will have a mortgage. Then you have home insurance. Um, you have utilities. I said, let's assume that the car is paid for. You got car insurance and gas and even Medicare costs.
Wow.
You got $148 a month for Medicare. So you
No,
add all that stuff up, and to keep a roof over your head and to eat, you have $142 left for lifestyle. So no going to dinner unless, of course, you're going to, one of the cheap fast food places.
the dollar menu.
Yeah, yeah.
I get
Um,
making fun, but this is really serious. This is sobering because
yeah, yeah.
anything can happen to blow that small margin right
Yeah.
out of the water.
Well, if you live in a more expensive place, more expensive part of the country, your household, the roof over your head is going to cost more than $1,300.
Right, right.
And along with that, here in Florida, um, home insurance is $2,500 to $3,000 a month and up. Some people are paying as much as $10,000 a month for home insurance.
Yeah,
So, you know, other parts of the country, your utility bills may be higher. If you live in a place where it's really cold, you may have to pay a lot in the winter for fuel. Or you live in a place that's really warm in the summer, you got to pay a lot for electricity. So all of those things start to add up, and you find out now I understand why I have lots of folks that I talk to that are saying, "Gee, I can't afford to retire, and I need to go find a part-time job, whatever." The other thing that I'll say on here before we kind of kill this slide, you see that little yellow box there?
yeah, yeah. I was going to ask you about that.
That's if you have because I don't know what your retirement plan looks like.
Okay.
You know, I just said to sort of plug it in there. And one of the things that occurred to me, and for my own time in corporate America, many of your big companies stopped funding pensions back in the mid 90s. And they
Yep.
went from a defined, I think it's called a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution plan, which
That's
is we'll give you money, you put it in a 401k, and when you're ready to retire, you take the money out of the 401k and you can live off of that.
right. Right.
Good
No,
luck
yeah.
with
I
that.
remember.
Yeah. So, and I remember I know exactly when it was done at one of the companies I worked for because at that time I was in the finance department and was part of the group that was making the decision.
Right.
And I remember sitting in a room going, "Hey, we're screwing ourselves."
Yeah.
But you know, it if I did, it was one of those things. You got to if you're gonna keep your job, you, you got to go with the program.
Right.
So, but anyway, if you don't have a retirement plan or have a plan in place, that is a hole that you need to fill.
Right.
And one of the things that you and I want to talk about over the rest of this video is, so what does that mean?
Right. Right. And that's where I think notes can play a big part in filling that gap that you're speaking in reference to, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
I'm not sure the analysis that I did initially, looked like this, but I began to realize some very surreal circumstances that put me in a place of saying, you got to do something. And so I went into real estate investment heavy. And then the story is that, I stumbled into notes but notes is a far better solution for my own retirement runway, if you will, journey, my financial journey. But for everyone, this is something to take into consideration of preparing yourself, protecting yourself, giving yourself more runway financially to be able to enjoy your lifestyle of living.
Agreed. Agreed. It's as you think about these kind of things, Kim, the other piece of data that I went out and I researched, I wanted to see what is the average liquid net worth of a family at 65.
Oh, wow.
And well, it was the median. I'm sorry, the median net worth, and it was $177,000.
I was bracing myself.
So you sit back and you go, all right, 177,000. How many more months am I planning on living? And you plug that into that little yellow box,
Yeah,
and it doesn't really move that needle very far.
not at all.
The
No.
other thing that that also was going through my head is that you one of the things that you're also concerned about in retirement, that nest egg, that 177,000, you don't want to put it in something that could lose value,
Right.
because if it loses value, you've just shortened my runway.
Right. Right. And I had a couple of friends. It wasn't too long ago. I want to say maybe a year or so ago, where their 401k plans,
Yeah,
took a dive
yep,
significantly.
yeah,
And in fact, my daughter, we were reviewing hers. I mean, she lost like $56,000, something crazy,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and that was something that because we're looking at notes for her,
yeah.
and how she could leverage her 401k, and then you get this realization that some dynamics took place here, so
Yeah, yeah. There's less money there than you thought.
right,
So,
right,
um, the other thing that was going through my mind as I was starting to do this, um, you think back when we were younger, and you really weren't really concerned about retirement. You weren't really
mm.
concerned about. You kind of said, the money's going to be there. I'm going to be okay. House will be paid for. All this other kind of stuff. Life happens.
Life
And as a
happened.
result of that, you may not have as much as you thought you were going to have, or thought as much as you think you're going to need. And, so sobering, but I think in my thinking, and, kind of my lifestyle, I've found ways to help take that pot, the liquid assets that I have, and figure out a way to extend the runway.
Right, right.
And, so if you want to kill the slide, we can kind of talk about that a little bit.
Alrighty. How's that?
That's better. That's cool. I can
Okay.
see who you are.
Mhm.
But anyway, we're talking about, just extending the runway.
Right.
And, you know, there are several folks that are part of our community where we've been having these conversations. And, without getting into details, I've talked to folks that are saying, yeah, I'm thinking about going back to work, that kind
Right.
of
Right.
thing. I chose to start investing in notes and really started getting into notes very deeply, because one of the things that I saw is that I needed to find a way to generate some steady, simple, passive income. I also needed to find something that had a lower risk of losing my principal.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you think about, return on investment. Your return is based on how much you can invest. And if your investment if the amount of capital you have to invest goes down, that automatically brings your return down.
Right. Right.
Um, on some other podcasts, we'll talk about what does it mean and how long does it take to regain after a market decline. And those numbers are also very sobering.
I
You
know it.
know? So, um, so anyway, I think that the issues are protecting your principal, increasing your runway. And for any of us, I don't know, there are going to be a lot of folks on this podcast, people from 20 to 80. Um, and the thing that I'll say is, you want to start earlier, but most importantly, you want to start doing something.
Right.
You
And I
know,
don't think that you're ever really taught early enough in life the importance of this, right? That this is your consideration. I mean, we're taught about careers, right? We're taught about planning your future and that kind of thing, but and to invest, right? And put away money and places like 401k plans and that type of thing. But to really connect the dots of the full scope of things of what you would be looking at as you grow older, that type of roadmap wasn't, I don't think it was, I wish I started younger by the time I had that kind of, sit down, if you will.
Yeah,
Um, um,
true.
and then, financial planners, along the way, and everybody has a different kind of, you know, approach to things, right?
Yeah,
Um, but in reality, when you look at things, you really have to take charge. You can't depend on anyone to tell you how you can prepare for your own lifestyle, for your own the way you want to live, right? The way you want to secure your future. And what is that can help you get there?
yeah,
Even like with the 401k, they have all these fees and everything that go on that you can start to lose money just by that alone. And so the one thing that's what I like about notes that you can add notes, right, to the portfolio
mhm,
and help stabilize the portfolio, right?
yeah, yeah,
Along with your other investments.
true.
That's what I did.
Yeah,
And so it's something to look into. It's something not to just dismiss. Really understand, the scope of things for yourself individually.
I agree. And as you're talking about that, Kim, one of the things that's going through my head is, let's talk a little bit about, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
If I put a note into my portfolio, what does that mean? How do I do it? And what are the ramifications, or what are the benefits of doing that? So, you know, you put notes in your 401k, I put notes into my 401k, and my objective was to be able to keep from losing principal, as well as get a reasonable return on the investment that I had.
Right.
So the way notes kind of worked for me, I went out, and one of the things that I was taught early on about notes is that there were only three things that could possibly happen. The borrower was going to pay as they agreed, they were going to pay it off early, or they failed to pay. And the experiences that I've had said that those three things do happen. Most of the time, I've been paid off early, you know, which is kind of nice.
It's more than
Um,
once a year, right?
yeah. So you get your money back, you get to reinvest it faster,
Mhm.
and obviously you are growing your portfolio as opposed to your portfolio just providing that extra that cash for you. So those are the things. And so what did that mean to my investment portfolio? I took assets that were in either a low return position, low return and low risk of losing principal, and moved it to notes, which was a higher return, but also low risk of losing principal, actually a lower risk of losing principal. I took other assets from a higher return, higher volatility type of a situation, stocks and whatever, and moved that into the notes. And that provided that foundation for me. And when I say that it's a simple thing, I know every month what my payments are going to be, because when you buy a house, for 360 months what the payment's going to be.
Right.
And we bought a note that was a mortgage that is on somebody's house, so we know what the payments are going to be. So it's
Right.
simple. I don't have to worry about it's going to be less next month or it's going to be more. It's going to be the same every month, and I can plan my budget based on, I know I'm going to get $500 from this note. I'm going to
Yeah.
get $300 from this note. And now all of a sudden, that gap that we're talking about, I can use that for lifestyle money. I can
Right.
go out and buy another car.
Right, right.
You know, I
Pay a
can take a
note, pay
vacation.
another bill, pay
Right.
another
Pay another
expense
bill.
that
Yeah.
you want to get rid of, right?
True.
So,
True. True.
yeah.
So that's kind of how it worked for me. You want to talk about how it worked for you?
For me, I did the same. I did a little bit of both. Um, because we do quite a bit as far as note investing is concerned. For the performing notes, part of my portfolio,
Hmm.
where I can, like you said, it's an expectation. I can count on it. It's every month. And the beauty for that for me is that because I'm a landlord, right? And so um, it's nice that I don't have to continue to uh, obtain rental properties to ensure that I can keep the lifestyle that I want to keep,
Yep.
or leave a legacy, right, for my children and my grandchildren. And so it's nice getting that monthly uh, income
Hmm.
that looks like rent
Yeah. Yeah.
and without having to worry about the property itself, or the tenants, which is great. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that part. But I also like investing in non-performing notes, which is not part of my portfolio. And because I like to do a thing where I can try to work with the borrowers to see if we can do maybe a loan modification, help them get back on their feet, that kind of thing, and pay it off. But you mentioned about the part about when people don't pay, right?
Mhm.
And when they don't pay and they don't want to work with you, and it just seems like it's a situation that's not going to work out, you know, that's another opportunity where the note gets paid off early, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Christmas
Yeah.
comes
And
again.
yeah, there is the Santa Claus. And it's kind of wild. When I first got into this, one of the concerns was, well, what if somebody doesn't pay me? And what I find is that, you know, in our due diligence on the notes that we buy, there's always equity. There's always a lot
Right.
of equity.
Always a
And
lot of
if a person doesn't pay, they're going to lose that equity. That's not going to
right.
happen.
Right, right. So,
So, yeah,
most situations it doesn't happen where they
yeah,
don't do what they can because people
yeah,
do whatever they can. They'll you know let everything fall off, but they do whatever they can. But there's always that rare I shouldn't say opportunity, but that rare transaction
situation.
where it's not working out for them, and we look at what we can do for them, in the process. Um, but you don't lose your capital. You don't lose what you've made your investment in, and
Sure.
so that's something else that I also invest in.
Very good, very good. And yeah, as everybody knows, I also invest in non-performers. I love
Yeah, you're
them.
the king of knowledge in that
Yeah,
area, the
yeah,
expert in that part. So I'm
yeah.
I'm glad to know you.
Thank you, thank you. Well, it's been a journey, and I wanted to kind of talk about some things that I found out about retirement, and hopefully give some folks some ideas of, you know, plant some seeds and hopefully get people to think about what do I do to extend the runway and to ensure that I have the kind of lifestyle that I want to have.
Right,
Uh, you know, we all know that, Social Security and things like that were not meant to be, the way that you live. That was never the plan. But there are a lot of folks that are in a situation where that's a good chunk of their income,
right,
and their monthly income or their monthly
right,
budget. And maybe there's some things that you can do, starting with just a little bit of an investment to increase the runway, increase the amount of cash that is coming in every month, and you know make your life a little better.
yeah. And this is something that can be done pretty readily. This
Yeah,
is not. This is not. Oh, maybe you might begin to see your returns in 10 years from now, whatever. This is something that you see pretty much on, just to stay on the safe side, 90 days, right?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
by the time we get through the process, the implementation and put everything in, And, and then you begin to collect every month a very steady, consistent income. And
Yeah.
so, and that's how you grow wealth. That's how you can depend on your own nest egg.
Yeah.
And it's really a plan of action that can maybe resolve some issues that are going on, and with all that is going on, it does sometimes cause a little, chaos and uncertainty. And this helps with that because notes is not impacted by the typical chaos and uncertainties like
Sure.
the market or even the interest rates, even the real estate market, because once you have a note, no one cares what's going on, you still have to pay that note.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, you still got to pay the rent every month, or
You
you got
still
to
have
pay
to
the
pay
mortgage
it.
every month. It doesn't
That's
change.
right.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it
The
doesn't
interest rates
change.
don't.
Right. So the investment is asset backed, so it's safe and it's secure. Never say never, but this is something that you can sleep with at night. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. Well, this was good. This was really insightful. I think we need to have a little bit more discussion on it. Let's do some, uh, wrap around discussions that are related to this. But this is a good start because I don't think we talk enough about it.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
and there's some real good things that we can put into place to help everyone who might be interested in bringing some stability
Absolutely.
or filling in the gap.
All right.
This was great, Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
All righty. Take care. Till next time. All
And
right.
do you want to make sure that we let folks know that if you want to find out more information about us, you
You know
can
what? Yes, absolutely. Thank you for
yeah,
reminding me.
click on that link below, or website, www.firstshieldfinancial.com, and you can find out a little bit more about what we're doing, a little bit more about notes, um, or you can see, click on any of our other social media platforms.
Right.
Again, search firstshieldfinancial.com, and you'll
Yeah.
find it.
Right. Right. All of our YouTube series and everything is out there.
Yeah.
So this is great. Thank you for the reminder. All
All right.
right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.